Welcome everyone to Monsters Multiclass. I'm Kevin Odie.
I'm Jared Bornicle.
And I'm Will Meldon.
And on this episode, we are taking a look at all of the feats added in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So we'll just jump into it. There's a bunch here. We're going to group some up just because there's some similarities. So first here, let's take a look at the two initiates. There's an Artificer Initiate and a Fighting Initiate. Basically, they let you borrow stuff from classes, really. Overall, I think the Artificer Initiate is kind of shit.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough choice compared to the Magical Adept, which is like the one that just lets you take spells. I mean, this lets you learn a cantrip from the Artificer spell list, which isn't like an impressive cantrip list by any means.
No.
You can cast one first level spell from the Artificer list per long rest.
Right. Intelligence is your spellcasting modifier, which is a rare skill to have high unless you are already a wizard or an artificer.
Right.
Which then you don't need this.
And then you gain proficiency in a type of artisan's tools of your choice, and you can use that as your spellcasting focus. Something that people already have more tool skills than they know what to do with and don't use.
Right. And it's not like the Artificer spell list is full of a bunch of cool, unique spells. It's basically the wizard list pared down a bit with some other stuff thrown in.
Right, and
I don't know why you would ever choose this over the magical adept feature that's in the player handbook.
Right. Magic Initiate, I think is what it's called. Yeah, so Magic Initiate is two cantrips of your choice from that class's spell list, which can be Bard, Cleric, Druid, Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard. And then you can choose one first level spell slot from the same list. Same deal, cast it once per long rest. And that's it. So you get an extra cantrip instead of a proficiency. But still a better spell list to choose from.
Yeah. I would think they should have just errated, however you say that, the Magical Initiate feat to add Artificer to the list. Instead of, this is just kind of filling that gap, because Artificer's not on the list and it's a primary spellcaster. Even though it's not a full spellcaster, actually. It's a half caster. I would have rather seen this be a way to get an infusion. I think that would have been cooler. It would have been more flavorful. It would have been more unique. And, you don't need any of the prerequisites. So you can only get the base ones. You get the second level, so nothing game breaking. I think that would have been a cool way to handle it.
I'm 100% with you. That'd be a lot better. And it could be, the flavor is kind of more interesting too, where you spend some time, tinkering and trying to build a magic item, and this is the result of your work. And then you could still probably get the first level spell slot and maybe one cantrip, and it still wouldn't be broken. I mean, an alchemy jug isn't really game changing.
Right.
Or a +1 weapon.
A +1, armor or weapon. Our homunculus are now second level though, aren't they?
They are. So
that's kind of a big deal. I could see that.
Well,
but I don't know.
I won't get into the balance aspects of it. I think you're totally right. That would be much more interesting at the very least compared to this.
Right.
Give it its own list if you don't want the homunculus to be an option. Just say you can do one of these 5 things.
Yeah, definitely. All right, the other initiate feat is Fighting Initiate. You get to choose a fighting style from the fighter class, which I think they get all fighting styles anyway, so you get a free fighting style.
There's they added a ranger one, like the druid cantrips or whatever, that's ranger specific. Yeah. But yes, in general, they get all of the important ones.
Right. This can stack with getting fighting style, so you could be a fighter and then take Fighting Initiate and get a second fighting style. So it's kind of unique combinations you could do there. Whenever you get an ability score improvement, you could also switch out a fighting style, which is nice. I don't know if this is worth an entire feat.
It feels like a half feat.
Yeah. Increase strength or dex.
This can change stuff. For a rogue, this actually makes a lot of sense. Right. For everybody else, a little bit less.
Right, because rogues get the additional ASI at 10th level.
And no fighting styles.
And only need one skill at all.
Right. Ability, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I could see where it's useful. I hate to be that guy, but I feel like I would rather multi-class into fighter just because of everything else that you get. But this is if you want to stay consistent and keep on to level 20.
Right. Or not sacrifice a whole level, so I feel like you're slowing down too much. But
right.
Yeah. So, some uses.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there would be some benefit to like a rogue getting the thrown weapon fighting, that new one that was just added, where you can add some... Or two weapon, yeah. So right. I think a rogue is definitely in the best position to take this. Heck... Maybe a barbarian. I feel like for barbarians, ASIs are actually pretty important because they use them for their AC mainly. And they rely on strength, dex, and con. So it can be hard to pass those up.
Yeah, I said making this a half feat, given +1 to strength or dex in addition to this, I think would make it, that'd be good. It's not hard to build a character around where you're at like 15 on one of those, and then you take this for your first one or whatever.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised they didn't go that direction. Seeing as even at level 2, when you get the fighting style, it's like not all you get for any class. Generally, you get a fighting style and something. Paladins get spellcasting. Fighters get second wind? Action surge at level 2? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Rangers get spells.
Level 1, by the way.
Oh, it is level 1. Okay.
That's the first level, yeah.
Then I think that might be all fighters get at level 1.
Second wind. Fighting style
and second wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So there's never a time where you're just getting a fighting style. I don't see this as a full feat.
For like a caster, this would be a way to get a fighting style, but the only one that I really see having appeal is, for instance, defense. There are a couple there's casters that wear armor.
Don't you think there's better ways to get +1 to your AC than taking
or if you're
fighting style?
Like a blade singing.
Okay.
Hexblade Warlock. You do need proficiency with a martial weapon as a prerequisite to this.
So I could see it for a warlock though. I think that's a good point because they only care about charisma. So you get to 20 by level 8, and then at 12th level, you're like, hey, what can I do? I want to stay a warlock forever, because why would I ever give that up?
So let me take Great Weapon Master.
Great Weapon Fighting.
No. I'm saying take the Great Weapon
feat.
Master
Take the feat that's actually worth a damn. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're correct. You're correct. Yeah, I can't swing it. It has to be a half feat.
Yeah, all right. So then there are 3 feats that impact the base physical damage type of bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. And I love that they added these because before this, they were basically interchangeable. Yeah, you're a character who started with a big old maul or something, and then you found a greatsword that was +1. It's like, screw it. I'll just use that. What's the difference? This actually adds some specialness. Not specialness.
Some
speciality.
Spice?
Yeah, speciality. Thank you. To it. First one is the Crusher. This is for bludgeoning damage, so it is a half feat. Your strength or con goes up by 1. And once per turn, when you hit a creature of attack that does bludgeoning damage, you can move it 5 feet to an unoccupied space, provided it's not more than one size larger than you. And then when you score a crit, each attack rolls against this creature are made with advantage until the start of your next turn, which is great. But
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I'll just go through them here. Then you have Piercer. This is for piercing damage, another half feat, strength or dex by 1. And again, once per turn. These all have the same format. When you attack that deals piercing damage, you can reroll one of the attack's damage die. Then you must use the new roll. I don't know any piercing that does weapons that have 2 damage die, but like no piercing that is like 2d6 or something.
I would have
assault rifles.
No, I don't think there's any. Because the spear does I guess 1d10?
You could reroll like a sneak attack die or something, I guess.
Can you?
I don't know.
Does that become part of the attack's damage, so then you can reroll one of those?
I'm pretty sure.
That sounds
sneak
cool.
attack is extra damage, isn't that how it's worded? We talked about it last or 2 videos ago, but...
Like I'm supposed to remember that.
Right. And then when you crit with a piercing damage, you can roll 1 additional damage die when determining the extra piercing damage the target takes. Which is nice. And that could get really crazy with like a barbarian or something. Because they get brutal criticals.
Right. I'm just trying to think of what weapon a barbarian would use that's piercing.
A pole arm. Probably.
Yeah.
All the rest are finesse, I think. And then the last one in this group here is the slasher. Slashing damage again. Also, again, it's a half feat, so you get strength or dex. And once per turn, when you deal slashing damage, you can reduce the speed of the target by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. And then when you crit on a creature slashing damage, you grievously wound it until the start of your next turn. The creature has disadvantage on all attack rolls.
Yeah. So these are all really cool. As mentioned, since they're half feats, they actually feel worthwhile, which is good. I don't know if any of them are like better than the others. They all just have their own unique kind of thing. But I feel like I don't love Crusher compared to the other two. And Crusher is just, again, you can move a creature 5 feet. And then if you score a crit, all your attacks afterwards have advantage. I like the flavor of that, where after you crit, it feels really great that like your next attacks are ramped up. But
all attacks. Not just yours.
Oh, all attacks against it. So you're almost
your
like
party members'
kind
attacks.
Of throwing it off
you're
kilter
kind of
and
like
stuff.
dazing them, yeah.
Okay. I like that more then.
I think that's pretty good, yeah. And the free 5 feet, since there's no save or anything with it, it's just something you could do. See that coming up a lot. Especially as a way to get out of there. You knock something back 5 feet and you can just run, or just a little bit of repositioning, just again as a free thing.
Yeah.
The Piercer one I'm not a fan of. The re-rolling one die. So like even if you can't do sneak attack, you get to re-roll one of the d6 or a d8 or of the rapier or whatever. And I don't know, to me that just feels okay.
In terms of being interesting, it's definitely lowest on the list because the Crusher gives you movement, the Slasher gives you reducing their speed by 10 feet, and both of those are unique and change play styles up. Whereas this is just, you rolled a 1, re-roll it, hopefully you get an 8.
Right.
I think they were a little bit trapped because that one kind of serves as a proxy for range.
Right. I was thinking that too. All your ranged attacks are going to be piercing.
True, yeah.
Except for the sling, which can be used with Crusher.
Ooh, that's a really powerful sling. That would be actually cool. That you could make a David and a character, like David and Goliath. And the Goliath, yeah. So your like whole thing is you're like a tiny guy who's just hitting people with a slingshot and pushing them around.
Right.
That's hilarious.
The damage never works in the way that I want it to, but it sounds neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still a 1d4, but it's fun.
Right. But could it be 1d4 plus 5? Wait, can it use strength or does it have to use dex? Because that's a ranged attack.
I think that it's got to be dex.
Okay.
Because you're not throwing this. Well, it's complicated. You kind of are using your strength, but it does not go into that really.
Right. So, okay. So it's dex regardless.
Yeah. Yeah. Overall, I think these are much needed additions. Just something to make each weapon unique and give a reason to specialize.
Definitely. Big fan.
Yeah. All right, then there's 2 adept ones, Eldritch and Metamagic, and these are both actually pretty big, so we'll talk about them one after the other, but each sort of have their own discussion here. The Eldritch adept is you need a prerequisite of having spellcasting or a pact magic feature, and then you can learn one Eldritch invocation option of your choice from the Warlock class. If it has a prerequisite of any kind, you can only choose it if you are a Warlock who meets that prerequisite. Whenever you gain a level, you can replace the invocation with another one from the Warlock class.
So we talked about the fact that... wait. I lost my train of thought. I just blanked out entirely. End it. That's the end of the episode.
That was embarrassing.
It was.
How about it's good?
Yeah.
Invocations are good.
It came back to me. We were talking about how for a warlock, they probably wouldn't take that fighting initiate because they'd take Great Weapon Master or whatever. This is also a feat I could see a warlock taking later on as they've already got their charisma maxed out because there's so many good invocation options that just getting a couple more, especially some of those high level ones, can be ridiculous.
For sure. Yeah, overall, I think this is has the potential to be a great feat. Yeah, I'm looking at the list right now, just trying to see if anything jumps out that's like really game breaking.
Devil
really
Sight
ridiculous
is a kind of defining feature if you have a darkness spell. And most people there's a lot of classes that get darkness and then the ability is to see through their darkness. But if you don't, this is a way to get it. Other than that, like the level requirement has always been for Warlock level, if I'm not mistaken. So you can't pursue the really good stuff outside the class, but
right.
It is good to double dip on these. There's a ton of them. They're all really cool.
Yeah, I think it does become a little hard for a non-warlock to take this, only because like half of the initial level ones are having to deal with Eldritch Blast. And this does not give you Eldritch Blast.
No. If you get Eldritch Blast the old-fashioned way with the Magic Initiate, then you can enhance your Eldritch Blast with this, but...
Just take Warlock
kind
levels.
Of a weird way to
what are you doing?
Like, you should do 2 levels in a Warlock. Yeah.
Right.
Looking through it, a lot of these have a prerequisite.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd say most of them.
A lot. Most of them do. It's actually pretty limited in that sense.
The ones that don't are, again, Eldritch Blast related, which leaves you with Devil Sight.
Well, no, which has the prerequisite of the Eldritch Blast cantrip.
Correct. You're right.
Not that you would take it even if it didn't have that. So you have like Misty Vision, where you could cast Silent Image at will, or Mask of Many Faces, Disguise Self at will.
But for all of those, I don't know what level those spells are off the top of my head, but I get the feeling you're better off going Magic Initiate. First. Yeah, so then you can get...
But it's free forever. So Disguise Self...
at will. At will.
Yeah,
at will. It's kind of a character-defining thing.
Nope, that's cool. Yes. That's cool.
So it lets people who aren't cool be cool.
Yeah,
is that why you like Warlock so much?
Where you could see through the senses of another humanoid. A Fiendish Vigor, you could cast False Life on yourself at will as a first level spell.
No, I don't get that one.
Tap in.
What's False Life do?
Scales like crap.
False Life, it gives you 10 hit points. 1d4 plus 4 10 hit points.
Yeah, that's
an hour. So it's just like basically you could always have 1d4 plus 4 10 hit points. I don't know. Nothing crazy.
Yeah.
You could read all writing.
That's cool.
Detect flavorful. Magic at will. Advantage on concentration saves, but if you're using the feat to get it, just take Warcaster because that's better stuff anyways.
Right.
And then Devil's Sight is the big one. So, and Beguiling Influence, proficiency in Deception or Persuasion. Speak of Animals at will. All right, I wasn't planning on reading all of them, but that is actually all of them.
Okay.
It's like, sorry, that went on for a while, but...
now when you are editing this, you can just have each invocation come up as you list it.
I probably won't
you missed
do
Armor
that.
of Shadows, didn't you?
That's a lot of work. Armor of Shadows.
Is that the mage armor?
Mm-hmm. At will, which is actually kind of good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I missed that. You're right.
I'll say that's better for... I would take that as a wizard, without a doubt. Because for wizards, you're always spending that one spell slot every day just to cast mage armor. I say without a doubt. I take that back. I would consider it as a wizard. There could be benefit to it. You also kind of don't care about first level spell slots by the time you're at the point that you're considering feats. And as always, the way that I look at things, this is pretty flavorful. Because in some fashion, you probably got mixed up with the occult and learned a little bit of information and took something out of it. I think this is a good way to reflect it. I view this as a good contender for a feat to give players outside of the ASI. Of just like, as a reward for a quest, is you get one invocation, and I don't think you're going to break much of anything.
No.
And again, you could even specify. You get the ability to cast Disguise Self. Every single one of you now has Disguise Self all the time. And that's cool. That's really fun for a party.
Right.
That's the kind of thing the DM takes away after a few sessions. Guys, you're fucking me up. I thought I was having fun, but you guys really, really went too far.
So flavorful. If you have an invocation you want to chase, definitely kind of argues against multi-classing a bit. Because sometimes people might multi-class into Warlock just to be able to get an invocation.
Do they, though? Is that the reason why? I don't think so.
It definitely comes up.
I think it's the short
part of it.
I think it's the spell slots on a short rest.
Yeah. That too.
Also for the jacket, you get like a cool leather jacket. It says, I play Warlock.
It's got a big skull on it with bats.
Oh my god. That we need to make. That needs to be our Monsters of Multiclass merch. It just says, I play Warlock, and it has a big skull and crossbones on the back.
I love it.
In your sleeve, it just says, like, Eldritch Blast embroidered on there. Fucking $300 a jacket.
All right. The other multi-classing light feat is a Metamagic adept. Basically, you could learn 2 Metamagic options from the sorcerer list. You only get 2 sorcery points, and you regain them all when you finish a long rest. So there are actually some Metamagic options you were just locked out of.
Right.
You just don't.
Because they take like 3.
Can't use them. 3, yeah.
So I think this is game-changing for the sorcerer class.
Yes.
I don't think it really is that interesting for the other classes. Maybe if you're a wizard, you might take it because it's better than multiclassing into sorcerer. We've talked about how bad it is to multiclass into sorcerer.
Right.
But if you're a sorcerer and you've got 2 more metamagic options and 2 more sorcery points, that actually fixes a lot of what we've complained about with the sorcerer.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Most
It's like
definitely.
a pointless tax, but...
It is.
Yeah.
It does feel like a tax.
What else are you going to improve? I mean, you're a sorcerer.
Right, because you just need charisma.
Right, yeah.
So you got
Right.
that to 20. Heck, I'd get this before I get my charisma to 20, but that's just me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. One thing to know with the 2 sorcery points, these 2 could only be used to spend on Metamagic. You can't use the Font of Magic or whatever it's called to convert to spell slots and
Sure.
whatnot, but that's not a huge deal.
No.
Yeah, so I'd say any and this has a prerequisite of spellcasting or the pack magic feature. Yeah, for like a wizard or any spellcaster, I think 2 sorcery points is way too limited to chase this feat down unless you have a specific character concept in mind. Because it's not a whole crazy lot you could do there.
I'm just trying to think which ones you're locked out of. That would actually be a bummer. So Twinned,
Heightened.
You couldn't do for high level spells, right? Because that's equal to 1 sorcery point per spell level. So you could do up to 2nd level spells you could twin. Heightened
Right.
is 3, as you said.
I guess that's it.
That's
Yeah,
all
that's
I'm
it.
seeing.
Yeah, Quickened is 2. Okay, so you're not locked out of too much. You know what? Actually, I might take back what I was saying, where it may not be worth it. I could see a wizard getting used to being able to, like, once a day, they could, like, twin a 2nd level spell.
Right.
Or quicken a spell when, like, they really need to. Especially because they're mainly just going to focus on their spellcasting abilities, and that's it.
One thing that kind of sucks is Careful. The metamagic option is you can basically choose a number of creatures up to your charisma modifier, and those chosen creatures automatically succeed a saving throw. If you're a wizard, you're probably not going to want to go with that.
Right.
If you're an evocation wizard, you don't care because you have another way to protect people. But yeah.
So, bards and warlocks.
Bards and warlocks.
If you want that or empowered, you're kind of stuck with those.
Oh, reroll damage dice up to your, yeah.
But
Charisma
not bad
modifier.
options. And again,
No.
I think as you get to the higher levels, I mean, even right now, you guys are level 10, so I was, of course, thinking about what you're all going to do at level 12, because I think about your characters more than you do. I guarantee it. And I was trying to think of, like, what feats there might be on the table, because everybody has their main stat at a good spot at this point. So, feats like this start to become an option. That's at level 12. We've still got one at 16 if we end up getting there.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, my bard rogue tabaxi named Embers getting a couple metamagic options could be useful.
Annoying.
Just to pull it out when needed.
What level's
for big
hypnotic
fights.
pattern?
3rd.
Okay, good.
So, but I mean, it's not like it could be twinned anyways. That's not.
I don't know what
That
you
is a
could
good
do.
It could be
target
quickened.
for-
Yeah, it could be.
Careful, too.
Careful and
Yeah.
quickened. Both of those would
Yeah.
be, the bane of my existence.
Yeah, unfortunately, cannot be heightened. That would be a really good spell to heighten. think of disadvantage, but
so yeah, it's good.
So, yeah,
I think it's helpful for the sorcerer too, and I think couple options. I think it's going to be easier to take Metamagic adept than it would be the Eldritch adept.
Yeah, if you're not that class already.
Right.
Yeah. All right, and then there are just some standalone features here, feats, not features. There's quite a bit. Some of these we might go through a little fast, but we're just going to go through them alphabetically, starting with Chef. And you said you had a rant on this one, Jared, so I don't know if you want to take it away.
No, that was just a joke. I'm sorry for providing false expectations. I do like this one, though. I think it's interesting. So, just increase your con or wisdom by 1, so it's a half feat. Gain proficiency with cook's utensils. As part of a short rest, you can cook some special food. You can prepare for a number of creatures equal to 4 plus your proficiency bonus. At the end of the short rest, any creature who eats the food and spends 1 or more hit dice can gain an extra 1d8 HP, which is nice. And then you can also make road snacks. With 1 hour of work when you finish a long rest, you can cook a number of treats equal to your proficiency bonus.
1 hour or when you finish.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
So you can cook a number of treats equal to your proficiency bonus, and they, as a bonus action, can be eaten to gain temp HP equal to your proficiency bonus. So it's nothing crazy, to be honest.
Right.
Very flavorful. I'm happy
it's a half feat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that flavorful isn't just
flavorful. Yeah. Okay. I could see picking this. Yeah, it adds good flavor. Fits a character concept well because a lot of people kind of like. I just hear about that. A lot of people are trying to make like chef subclasses and classes. So he's just kind of like a feat for it. The fact doesn't cost you anything to do. It's just when you take a short rest, everyone gets an extra 1d8 hit points. Yeah. Great, just a free thing. And then everyone gets to start their day with 10 hit points.
Yeah. And I was looking at it for our life cleric, who in-game spends the first couple of hours cooking for everybody when you guys are traveling, because she's an elf who needs less sleeping time. So that's like something she does every morning. So I was thinking like, oh, that'd be really fitting for her to pick. Sadly, the half feat would be kind of wasted because her con and wisdom are both at even numbers, but so be it.
Right.
That's for her to decide. It still would be a cool pick.
Yep. All right, next up we have Fey Touched, another half one, so you can increase your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma by 1, and then you learn Misty Step and 1 first level spell of your choice. The first level spell must be divination or enchantment. You can cast each of these spells without expending a spell slot. Once you cast either of them, it comes back in long rest. And then if you have appropriate spell slots, you can also then use that to cast this as well. So the ability for these, if relevant, is whatever increased with the feat.
Right. And so this to me seems better than any of the magic initiates, because Misty Step is like an amazing spell. And it's level 2. And you get a first level spell of your choice. It's a bit smaller of a pool that you can choose from, because it has to be enchantment or divination. But I don't think you're going to have a hard time finding a good first level spell there. And it's a half feat.
Right. With this, though, you don't get the cantrips.
Right.
Cantrips are can be play style changing, because it's just something you could always do.
True.
That's why it's chosen. I mean, it's for chasing a cantrip, magic initiate.
Right. Magic initiate, yeah. A free Misty Step is great. I mean, if you don't have spell slots at all, regardless, free Misty Step a day. Because that's good. Like, second level's high enough where it's like, as a bonus action, you teleport 30 feet. And that feels like, I kind of feel like I'm wasting my second level spell slot. I always feel a little bad when I cast
right on
Misty
the cusp.
Step. Yeah, but when it's needed, we keep casting it, because it turns out when it's needed, it is a good enough.
Breaking free from the restrained condition without a roll is what sells it for me. Almost every time I see it's used, it's to get out of some situation like that.
Right.
So I could see it fitting.
I could definitely see picking this. All right. Next up, we have Gunner. I guess this is another weapon one we could have added to. Not that it matters. You can increase your dex by 1 to a maximum of 20. You gain proficiency of firearms. You ignore the loading property, and being within 5 feet of hostile creatures doesn't impose a disadvantage. So it's almost like crossbow expert, except for you can't make the offhand attack with like a hand crossbow.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's identical, but for guns. I think this is just kind of smoothing over a gap because guns were added somewhat later and they're not fully official, and there was just really no feat that targeted them. So, yeah, we've never really played in a world with guns. I don't think.
Only a little bit. I ran Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and that had guns. Okay. But that doesn't really matter that much. It wasn't like a big part of the game. I don't like them, so.
The Renaissance ones are just really souped up compared to most ranged weapons. I mean, if you get into modern ones, it's just the game's suddenly a lot different. But
I always find that funny that there's rules for modern weapons. Just like
there's rules for antimatter rifles,
right? It's like, oh, grenade, 10d10. It's like, what game are we playing?
Yeah, so if you're a character that uses a gun, I can see gunner being picked. That's some good. Like, the loading property is pretty limiting. And within 5 feet.
Yeah, it's.
But I guess I'm not too familiar with guns themselves in D&D, so I don't.
I am assuming that it is just as strong as Crossbow Expert, and that's why I have nothing more to say about it.
Yeah, well, one of the big things of Crossbow Expert, though, is when you use the attack action and attack with a one-handed weapon, you can, as a bonus action, attack with a hand crossbow you are holding.
Right.
That's like one of the really, really big things of Crossbow Expert, and Gunner is missing that. And so...
Probably because guns in general are stronger.
So like damage, are they?
Yeah, damage-wise,
yes. I don't really... Okay.
Yeah, with a crossbow, the highest you'll get is that D10 heavy crossbow, and that's two-handed, so you won't be able to do that. That really only comes up if you have a hand crossbow. You can basically dual-wield them.
Right, and hand crossbow, what, D6?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty low.
Right.
So, yeah, it just doesn't feel like it's necessary to add on, because, again, guns, you'll just find her more powerful.
Right.
Just like in real life. We stopped using crossbows for some reason, and I can't figure out why.
All right, next up we have Poisoner. Yeah, you can prepare and deliver deadly poisons, granting you the following benefits. When you make a damage roll that deals poison, it ignores resistance to poison damage. That alone is great. Poison damage is heavily resisted, and there's some really cool spells and abilities that deal poison damage. And especially then if you go with like a subclass or something where you could pick a element type and you pick poison, they get boosts and stuff, like the Evocation Wizard or...
Right.
Actually, Evocation Wizard doesn't have that, do they? Maybe Dragon Sorcerer. There we go. That's what I'm thinking of. There's a couple others.
Chromatic Orb is a spell that lets you choose the damage type. And there's that, I guess.
Right. So then also when you can apply poison to a weapon or a piece of ammunition as a bonus action instead of an action, which is great. So you could just kind of be doing that before every attack, especially if you're like a rogue sitting in the back with a crossbow or arrow, or bow and arrow, longbow. Bonus action, just keep applying it. And then you gain proficiency with the Poisoner's Kit. And with 1 hour of work using a Poisoner's Kit, you can expend 50 gold worth of materials, create a number of doses of a potent poison equal to your proficiency bonus. Once applied, the poison retains potency for a minute or until you hit with the weapon or ammunition. When a creature takes damage from the coated weapon, they must succeed on a DC 14 con save or take 2d8 poison damage and become poisoned until the end of your next turn. That's fantastic. Again, very flavorful. There's absolutely people want to kind of chase that sort of play style.
Right.
Poisoner
this I've had people in my game specifically try to be poisoners and like make poison and do things with poison, and it always falls flat in combat because it's like, hey, you can poison one weapon, you can use it once, and then that's basically it.
Right, because it's an action, right? Otherwise,
yeah,
and so it's usually not worth taking your entire action to do it.
Right. So I am super excited for this, and the person who just joined our game, I'm going to push them to take this feat at some point because they have proficiency in a Poisoner's Kit right now, and it's just like it's really fitting with their character, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I can see that. That'd be perfect for her. And there's poison, the different poisons. There are other official poisons you can make.
There are.
Okay, I'm not actually familiar with them.
They're in the DMG, and they get ridiculously powerful, but the clarification is you can't just buy this at the grocery store.
Yeah, I need cardamom, garlic, and a poison that does
purple worm poison.
Right. Does 12d10 damage on a DC 20 con save.
Jeez.
I don't know what the actual numbers are. Don't quote me on that.
It's up there.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And it's supposed to be like 2,500 gold or something stupid.
Right.
But this is a nice, everybody can do it. So it's kind of democratizing this, whereas you had to kind of force it into your game otherwise.
Right. It will definitely get expensive, though. 50 gold points for a number of doses equal to your proficiency bonus. So that's definitely a limiting factor, but...
Yeah, but it scales well.
It does.
Because, I mean, by generally speaking, 10th level, 50 gold's not that much. You could spend...
Right.
You spend 200 gold, and now you've got, I don't know, 16 doses, I think that works out. I think you've got +4 proficiency by then. Either way, it's not that bad. Yeah. It's not that expensive. It's not like each dose is 50 gold.
Right.
And I'm trying to look up what Poisoner's Kit lets you do by default in Xanathars, and it's really not too much. It is surprisingly not a lot about making poison.
Yeah, they never really filled that in.
No. I assume we can assume that the poisons in the DMG can just kind of be made. But I do hate when it's like, okay, you need this Feat and Tasha's, and then reference Xanathars to see what you can actually do with that. And then I've got the DMG, I'll show you which poisons you can actually make. The person's like, can I just... I just want to make a poison that makes them fall asleep. I'm like, oh, well, that's actually not official, so I guess we'll have to homebrew something. Sorry.
Right. All right. Next up, we have Shadow Touched, which is actually grouped with Fey Touched. We did a bad job of grouping these up, really.
Because our listeners they can't focus if we're bouncing from topic to topic.
Right. Yeah. So it's pretty much the opposite of Fey Touched. You are infused with the Shadowfell magic instead of the Fey Wild magic. Same thing. You could increase your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma by 1. Instead of getting Misty Step, you get invisibility. And then 1 first level spell. That spell must be illusion or necromancy. And then everything's the same. You could cast each one without expending a spell slot. If you have spells, you could do that as well. I would say it's kind of on par. That being said, though, Misty Step is probably, I think, more useful than just the second level invisibility.
Probably. I find invisibility has its specific uses, but it's not the type of thing that I want all the time. And it's easy enough to get from other spellcasters that I'm not really concerned about taking a whole
other
feat
spellcasters can cast it on you.
Right.
Yeah. Then again, you could cast this on others, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's situations where it might come up and you might want this, like just depending on your party makeup and your game, but I don't see this as a universally good feat. Right.
All right, and then next is Skill Expert. You increase one ability of your choice, score of your choice by 1, and then you gain proficiency in one skill. And then you can choose one skill, and once you have proficiency, and you gain expertise with that skill. So it doubles your proficiency bonus. Obviously, you can't choose something that already has expertise and triple it. That'd be silly.
Yeah.
So just a way to get expertise, which is solid. That being said, like rogues get it at first level, if I'm remembering correctly. And it's like I would almost just like, instead of foregoing the ability score improvement, just multiclass into rogue once and get the other cool stuff too. Yeah, they get expertise, sneak attack, and thieves' cant all at first level.
Right. But once again, you know, if you don't want to slow down your progression, if you need the half feat because you get the ability score increase,
right?
I could see, and you know, if rogue doesn't do anything for you, there's a lot of classes where going into rogue isn't that important. Yeah, like a wizard isn't going to get that much from one level into rogue.
Yeah, I mean, they would get some armor proficiencies and then more skills and then 2 expertise choices. This is just 1.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
And slowing down their spell slot progression, though.
That's true, yeah.
It's better than the original, which was skilled, where you just got 3 proficiencies. I'd rather get the expertise. So if you want to be an expert in something, this is it.
Right. All right, telekinetic. 2 more to go here. You learn to move things with your mind. You can increase intelligence, wisdom, or charisma by 1. You learn the Mage Hand cantrip. You can cast it without verbal or somatic components, and you can make it invisible if you want. If you already know the spell, the range increases by 30 feet when you cast it. As a bonus action, you could try to telekinetically shove one creature you could see within 30 feet. I'm sorry, this is a separate bullet point. So that's the Mage Hand thing. And then in addition to that, you could try and shove a creature within 30 feet of you. When you do so, they make a strength saving throw, which is DC of 8 plus your proficiency plus the ability modifier, the score increased, or be moved 5 feet toward or away from you. A creature could willingly fail this.
Yeah, I like when that's an option.
Right.
I think this would be really cool for an arcane trickster rogue who kind of uses their mage hand already. It would increase the range 30 feet, which I think could be useful as well.
They can already make it invisible.
Correct.
So it would double the range.
Right.
I do find it a little weird where it's, if you already know it, the range is doubled. If you don't, your range is not doubled. Where I think it would be just, it's a 60-foot mage hand. And if regardless or not, I don't know. I mean, I don't feel crazy strong about that. It just seems a little odd.
I guess it is. It's a little bit weird. It's trying to give you something if you already have mage hand. But I guess why? Why does it need to give you something if you already have mage hand?
Well, it would still do that if it was just you get 60-foot mage hand. If you already have it, your mage hand becomes 60 feet. So you get something regardless.
Right.
This just takes away from someone who doesn't. But the mage hand definitely has its uses. Like you said, I think as a arcane trickster who could command it as a bonus action, and they could try and stow and pickpocket with it and do things like that. They could pick locks with it
from 60 feet away
from 60 feet instead of 30 is really cool.
Then, because I know, like we've said before, occasionally if a rogue is arcane trickster rogues always picking things from 30 feet away, it's like, oh, I can't have any traps. It's like, well, every once in a while you can throw one in that hurts them from 30 feet back anyways. But if you're trying to hurt them from 60 feet away, it's like, all right, chill out. Oh yeah, when you pick this lock, the entire room caves in.
And then the second thing where you can, as a bonus action, try and shove things around from 30 feet. I like that. Since there is a saving throw attached, I would like to see it be more than 5 feet. Like we last kind of video, same podcast, when we were talking about the there was one of the subclass abilities where they could like shove something for 5 feet for free.
The Ranger and Swarmkeeper.
No, there's a rogue. One of the rogue ones.
Oh, the rogue one. Oh,
yeah, the Sai thing. I think.
Okay.
The soul knife. I think you could just right. We were just talking about it. Anyways, there are definitely
Crusher. Maybe that came up too.
There you go.
That was a whole 5 minutes ago.
Right. Yeah. So the Crusher is just for free. You could just move something around 5 feet. If there's a saving throw, which means that could absolutely be failed, and then just nothing happens, and you've wasted your bonus action, I think it should just be a greater movement than 5 feet.
Yeah, that's fair. It also doesn't say that the range is equal to your mage hand. It's just 30 feet. So even if you do have that 60-foot mage hand, you're still limited to the 30. I don't like that either.
I think the idea is it's not your mage hand. It's just...
Oh, well,
basically, you can move things and like up... The mage hand, it's basically just saying you're telekinetic. You can pick up and move things with your mind, and just to make it easier without detailing how that works, it says it's basically mage hand, but invisible.
Okay.
And then in addition, you could like send psychic forces to shove people.
Well, I mean, I hated this from the start because it's psionic related. But I'm definitely not won over.
It's not psionic related. It's just telekinesis. This is...
It's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the same category. So no, I think I'm with you. There's better ways to just get mage hand, and that bonus action ability is not too great. I like being able to move things 5 feet. It's interesting and can be useful, and being able to push your teammates specifically can be really nice. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's that nice.
Yeah, I mean, it can help your teammates get out of danger on your turn. Use that to shove them 5 feet away from an enemy, and that does not trigger an opportunity attack. And then if the initiative is in your favor where they go before that enemy goes and they don't have reach...
We definitely talked about this one.
Yeah, so that definitely has uses, but I don't know if I would say it's worth a whole feat. Well, I guess it's a half feat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Kind of on the fence. It definitely can make a character concept. If you want it to be a fighter, they're just like a battle master fighter, but you for some reason have telekinetic abilities.
Ugh, I hate it. There you go. It's so dumb.
I love how harsh we are. It's like, doing weird things with your mind, that's so stupid. Just learn magic.
I don't know what it is. Everybody's got to have their hang-ups, right? For whatever reason, this one's mine. Just any of these psychic abilities just feel silly to me. And that it truly is
unrealistic.
Right. And I say, like, even if somebody honestly wanted to play a psionic at my table, like, we could talk about it. I wouldn't be like, no, they're banned here because I don't like it. It's just the flavor for me just is uninteresting.
And then that leads us into the last one, telepathic. You awaken the ability to mentally connect with others. So intelligence, wisdom, or charisma increases by 1. You could speak telepathically to any creature you could see within 60 feet. They're in a language you know, and the creature understands you only if it knows that language. This does not give the creature the ability to respond to you. And then you could, not that great. And then you could cast Detect Thoughts spell requiring no spell slots or components. You could do this once per long rest. The spellcasting ability is what's been increased by the feat, and then if you have spell slots, you can
do it again.
I don't think this is great. I mean, the fact that they don't have the ability to respond,
it almost had me.
What?
It almost did. I up until that point, I was like, okay, I could see this being cool. Just having telepathy, that's pretty useful. But once you take away their ability to respond, give me a scenario where that's actually useful.
You're playing your flute on your unicorn, and you want to inspire your wizard companion.
That's the art right below it.
Yeah, it is.
I'll put it on the screen. Yeah, it says, astride a unicorn, a telepathic bard inspires her wizard companion.
So does that allow you to inspire telepathically now? And what benefit does that give? Just use your words.
Your flute.
Just use your words.
While you're on your unicorn.
But most bards...
But also, if you're talking about bardic inspiration, you could inspire just by playing your instrument.
Right.
That's just a flavor thing. Yeah, that's...
So what...
No, there's...
What does it do? You see somebody across the room and you...
You can creep people out.
You can what?
Creep people out.
Right.
Just, talk in their head.
You can... one-way communication is not useless. It's just not very good.
Right.
Right.
There are better ways to get telepathy. By far. Ignoring magic, too, from classes like Warlocks. Get the creepy one. They can do this crap. It's a concept that's alright. I don't know. I would like the skill in real life.
Sure. Sure.
I don't know if that's a good yardstick to judge feats by.
No.
I wish I had telekinesis.
No, I don't care about this.
Yeah, and Detect Thoughts also sucks.
It's not the best.
I think it's okay.
I think it's kind of interesting. I think from the perspective of the party face, being able to just probe the surface level of somebody's thoughts would be kind of cool in whatever conversation. But the fact of the matter is that most times Detect Thoughts has spell components. So you can't just be in the middle of a conversation and sit there, cast your spell, and then detect somebody's thoughts without them giving you a weird look the entire time. But in this case, you can do it subtly, basically. It requires no spell slots or components.
Right, it doesn't require the component, but it still has visual and somatic.
Verbal.
Oh.
Verbal and somatic.
Yeah, I don't know how I always do visual. Yeah, never mind. I was thinking of material components.
Right, it specifically says
require that.
No components.
Just components. So, yeah. Okay,
so
I
think
just do it.
That's actually pretty cool. Again, middle of conversation, you're having a pretty intense one, and you don't know whether or not this person's being honest with you. It's like an extreme insight check.
Right, and there's no save just to learn the surface thoughts. And if you're talking with them, those are going to be the surface thoughts, unless it's someone who's been trained against us, and then that's a pretty rare thing.
Yeah.
And then you could probe deeper with... Yeah.
We have not had this spell come up with me DMing. So, I'm trying to think of how it would actually work, where you're asking questions and then you've got detect thoughts up. I guess they'd give their response, but also kind of like the first surface level thought. So it just sounds weird. I don't know. From a DM perspective, it's like hard for me to say what somebody's surface level thoughts are.
I would treat it, as you said, like a guaranteed past insight check.
Sure. Okay. Sure. We're like, you can tell.
Like, I mean, I guess if you want to be really, really realistic in a super not fun way, it would be whatever they are saying out loud.
Right.
But at the same time, like, there is kind of those back thoughts running, and I wouldn't call those surface level. Like, as you're kind of structuring what you're going to say and thinking of how you want to say it, especially if you're in a tense situation. It's like, all right, what am I saying? And then like, oh, wait, no, I need to hide that from them. Oh, I hope they don't pick up on that I'm lying. I wouldn't call those surface level thoughts.
No, that's more
for
the
sake of this, I would.
That's more the second part of this, where you do make them make a wisdom saving throw, and there you can get the deeper thoughts. And I think that comes in where you can learn that information. But I think what you said of being able to basically get a successful insight check where somebody says something and you know that the surface level thoughts are, I really hope they believe that one.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, okay, now I know that was a lie.
Yeah.
But if you want to know why they want you to believe that, and like the deeper reasoning behind it, then you would need to make them take that wisdom saving throw.
Right. And yeah, specifically this feat makes that all viable because you could just do it. Yeah. If you're trying to. Otherwise, yeah, what's the range? Oh yeah, self, and then someone within 30 feet of you. So yeah, unless you cast it while you're hidden and they don't detect you, and then which would require probably a stealth check, and then you come out and start asking them questions. That's where the only other way you can see it could work. Otherwise, they're going to know that you cast a spell on them.
Right. Yeah. So honestly, I think that's the core of this feat. If I'm being honest, I think that's more important than being able to speak telepathically to one person within 60 feet. Being able to have a surface level thought or surface level thoughts of somebody that you are engaged in conversation with once per long rest, at least, is pretty good. And again, for that party face, you're gonna want that information.
Right.
Oh, and
actually,
then,
it's a self cast, so you cast it on yourself, and then for a minute, any creature within 30 feet, you could probe their thoughts.
Okay.
So there is ways to do that.
You're right, because then you can, if you're with a group of people, you can do it.
Right. Yeah. If you probe deeper, it will know what you're doing, though.
Right.
No matter what, pass or fail.
But what would be cool is if you're doing that like surface level thoughts thing, then you still can then relay that information to your party through the one-way telepathy. Yeah. That's useful. I mean, seriously, think of the conversations.
That synergize as well.
Yeah, like think of the conversations you guys had in like the last session that we had. If you could detect their thoughts and you had this going, those conversations could have gone very differently. I feel like that for political intrigue and stuff, this would be invaluable.
Okay, we got there. I like this feat now.
Whew. Wait, no, it's psionic related. Never mind. It sucks.
Yeah, no, this still sucks, man.
And you know what doesn't suck? Describe. You knew it was coming. Mm-hmm. Wanted to take a moment and talk to you about our new friends and affiliates over at Describe. Describe is a website filled with creative descriptions of whatever you may come across in a D&D game. You can fill your world with flowery language that will be sure to draw your players in and leave them in awe of the mental pictures you have painted. When this episode releases, we will be having a giveaway on our Twitter and subreddit. The winner gets a year-long subscription to Describe for free. If you sign up now, be sure to use our code MM10 and you can get 10% off your subscription. So go check out their website, links in our description. So thank you for listening, and make sure to check out all of our socials in the description below. And What else?
Like, comment, subscribe.
Yes, like, comment, subscribe, and head on over to monstersmulticlass.com/support to see how you can help the show and see our amazing affiliates to get some discounts on some cool stuff.
Yep, some really cool dice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure to use the code MM10. Otherwise, you pay full price.
Oh, yeah.
Only suckers pay full price.
Yeah, we always forget the really important part of what makes it an affiliate is using that code.
Yeah, I bet people have been buying
Otherwise, you're just buying from them. Yeah.
All the time, and we're just
Which, I mean, it's fine. They make cool dice. I'm sure they're good.
But you're paying full price.
Okay, yeah.
Don't pay full price.
All right. All right. Thanks for listening. Watching. We're on YouTube. Watching. Listen, watching. Yes.
Thanks for using whatever senses you have to consume this media.
Yes, thanks for consuming. There we go. All right, bye.
Worst content creators on the planet.